Hello, hello, hello. All right. Power on up. All right. So, a little bit unexpected, but I lost power. So, I am doing the next best thing so that you guys still get day one of this workshop, even though I am overcoming life hurdles, which, for the record, normally we do lose power here if it's too windy or if there's fires and things of that sort. But, normal day, totally unexpected, but when life gives you lemons, right? So, without further ado, let's just hop right in to day one of this presentation before I lose battery power on this computer, which is why I am doing plan B for today. So let's go ahead and share screen. All right, we'll put me down here. Oops. Start on page one. All right, now that we are on the right page. So, this is day one of the AI Prompting 101 How Not to Sound Like a Robot. And I promise you guys, stick it out with me till the end because I am going to give you a literal formula so that you can actually get better results with your AI. Because as I have said in all of the marketing for this workshop, garbage in, garbage out, meaning that what you're going to get out of AI is simply as good as you prompt it to be. So, this is going to save you hours editing content. It's going to save you so much time if you use AI in any of your workflows or operations. In addition to the fact that day 3 we're actually going to dive deep into how to use AI for data analytics because the best part about AI is it's objective. It actually doesn't have any emotions, despite the fact that it tries to apologize when it does things wrong and all the fun stuff where it is trying to have emotions, but it really doesn't have any. So it is an objective perspective on some situations. And so when it comes to business analytics, you're going to provide the context and it's going to provide just objective analytics to what's going on. So today, content. Day 2, workflows, operations, and processes. Day 3, data. So without further ado, let's dive in to day one and save you guys so many hours on not only creating content, but editing it. So, today, what we're going to go over is how to make AI actually sound like you. It is actually simpler than you think, and you don't have to continue to teach it who you are. But if you never teach it who you are, then you're never going to get the results that you actually want. Then we're going to talk about how to save hours editing. And this all begins from where you start. That was a little convoluted, but the point is that if you start with a terrible prompt and then you get a terrible outcome and you work from there, that's going to take you so much longer than if you actually start with a decent prompt and you are going to have to refresh and reiterate and review what's happening as you go through getting the answer you truly want. But if you start on, let's say, point B to get to point Z versus starting on point F to get to point Z, you're going to be off to a much better start. And this presentation alone is going to show you how to get more value from every single prompt that you give AI through the magic formula that we're going to talk about in Secret One. I am not trying to bury the lead here. I promise you, if you actually watch this full presentation, not only are you going to get the secret formula, which is not going to be secret anymore because I'm presenting about it, you're also going to get a live demonstration from me of how I actually implement using the formula as well, because I use other AI tools to also simplify building my prompts. So, here is your real problem when it comes to AI. And that is what I already said, which is garbage in, garbage out. And I will also take a step back and say, over my 8 years of consulting on tech infrastructure in businesses, I built CRMs specifically through Salesforce, but I've expanded out into AI in more recent years. I have always found, though, that when it comes to people and their technology, that when you first off, if you overcomplicate it in your mind, then you're never actually going to get a great output anyway. But one thing I've always found is when people came to me with requests, if they came and they said, we want to do like this whole complicated system and we have all these ideas and we have all this stuff and then like we would execute well because I worked for, a lot of great partners of Salesforce. So we would execute well and then we would present our, solution based on what they asked for. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that doesn't work for what we need because of X, Y, and Z. And I was like, well, okay, that would have been helpful beforehand. Like you would have had to tell us that. We're not mind readers. But the point is that bad plans executed really well has a bad outcome. And that's the same thing with AI. Bad inputs executed really well, because I'm not going to blame you for not working hard. Bad inputs executed really well is still going to create a bad outcome. So it is not about the AI tool. It is about what you are asking the AI tool to do. But the good news is you actually don't have to be techie to get good results with AI. In fact, actually being not techie is probably a better way to get good results with AI. You just need to know the right formula, which I am going to tell you about in this presentation. So this matters because the reality of using AI is that it is the future, right? It came in like a storm, but it's going to be where the world is headed. And there are pros and cons to that. Obviously, if you watch the news, it's going to be more con than pro. If you go on YouTube, it's way more pro than con. So it really depends on your mindset. But that's actually the trick behind all of this is how you approach using AI through your mind, how you actually think AI is either going to help you or not help you is going to impact your outcome. So I do want to just talk about a really quick analogy to make AI like this simple in your brain. So when it comes to AI, AI is a tool like any other thing, like a shovel or a car or a fork. It is a tool to be used for a specific activity. And like a calculator in the hands of a mathematician is a mighty weapon. It could do all kinds of stuff, right? But a calculator in the hands of a 3-year-old is basically no better than a hammer. And I have seen my nephew bang it on things like, it's not used as the tool that it could be. And that's the same thing with AI. Not calling you a 3-year-old, but the reality is that if you use AI in this way, then what's going to happen if you're using it as a mighty weapon, you're going to get really great results. But if you're not using it the way it's supposed to be used, then you're going to continue to get results that are frustrating and disappointing. And you're going to inevitably think that it's a waste of time. But I promise you, it's not. So stick around. So let's dive into the formula. This is not me trying to like drag this on. In fact, we only have 40 minutes, so we are diving straight into the good stuff. This is the AI prompt formula. Now, caveat being that you don't actually have to include all of these in your prompt, but the more that you include, the better your outcome's going to be, the faster you're going to get a better outcome. So it is who plus what plus template plus format, and then you are going to review, refine, and reiterate. So who? One thing about using AI is that if you just say, give me this, then it's going to use all the resources it has, which is basically the entire internet, to answer that question. However, if you say you are trying to write an email, you say, you are an amazing copywriter. You are a copywriter for what's like one of those big publishing companies. Oh man. Okay, I'm blanking on the name, but there's a really famous one. But the point is, like, you say to AI, like, give it a role. You are a copywriter from this amazing publishing house. Write me an email for this customer service situation, right? Immediately. So your first AI prompt is write me an email for this customer service situation. Second version is you are a copywriter from said publishing house. Write me a customer service email about this situation. Even just comparing those two, this one asset in your prompt, you're going to get a better answer because you're telling the AI how to write the email, who would be writing this email, what you want the email to turn out as. And the reason I am saying a copywriter is because anytime you write anything on the internet, that is copywriting. So, who is giving the AI a perspective? Who would be the person who would get the best result from what you're asking it to do? Say you're writing a podcast. You would say, pretend you're Joe Rogan writing a podcast, right? He has the number one podcast in the world. Now, maybe you don't want to use Joe Rogan's like theme of how he does podcasts, but like his format, you could definitely take his format and insert that into your formula. The point being that you're going to give it a frame and a lens, like, I want you to use this perspective to do this task. So, what? Simply put, what are you trying to do? You trying to write a newsletter? You trying to write a customer service email? Are you trying to write a book? Are you trying to write a web page sales copy? Are you trying to write a podcast? Are you trying to write a video script? Whatever you're trying to do, you have to be extremely specific about what you're expecting AI to spit out. Otherwise, it's going to get creative and come up with all kinds of stuff. Do it all by itself. So the point being that you need to tell it who would be the person who would execute this well, and what are they executing on. Very simple, though. You just have to be specific. And the more specific you can be, the more likely AI is going to give you the answer you're actually wanting. So the next one is template, and the third one, or the fourth one, is format. I'm going to kind of mix these two together, but they are different. So templates are giving AI an example. So say you want an image that's like this other image. You're going to give it an example and say, I want an image that's like this image. That is a template, right? Or you give it a customer service email that has already been written that you like, and you say, base the customer service email I am writing off of this existing customer service email that we've already written. So in that form, you are giving it a template to work off of. You're giving it an example, and either it's going to be, text or whatever. You're going to format in the prompt. The nice part about AI is it's going to just read all the words. So you don't have to like make it all fancy. You don't have to make paragraphs and like explain it that way. You can just make this long run-on sentence. It's still going to understand what you're saying. But you say, here is an example of what I am trying to build off of, and then copy paste. So that is the template. The template is, do you have an example either from yourself or from somebody else that you can insert into your prompt to say, this is what I want the outcome to be built off of. This is what I want my version to be like. This is, you're going to give it an example like that so that it knows what you're looking for in the outcome. Now, of course, in the template area, you can also say, I want the tone of my version to be friendly, or I want the tone of my version to be very sassy, or, you can also differentiate in your what area, like, okay, build it off of this, but I want it to come out like that. So that brings us to format. Now, this is my favorite part, and this is what I'm going to teach you guys in Secret 3. Well, it's not going to be secret anymore. My secret way that I actually take, so all the YouTube videos that everybody watches that come up with all these instructions, I actually take those YouTube videos, I turn those into instructions, and then I give those instructions to AI to help me write things, either the video scripts or newsletters, all kinds of stuff. Now, of course, just because we're talking about using AI doesn't mean you don't do anything. You're going to have to do some of the work, otherwise it's not really your work anyway. But the point is that you can cut your editing time down to like an eighth of what it normally would have taken, like before AI, if you're actually serious about this format area. So I'm going to leave a little bit of an asterisk here, and we'll come back to this later because I want to actually do a live demonstration for you of how I do the formatting. So last is review, refine, reiterate. All this means is whatever the first thing that is spit out, you're going to look at it and you're going to look at what is missing or what didn't hit the mark, and you're going to take your exact prompt and then you're going to just alter it as you go. And by reiterating and by getting more specific each time you prompt AI, you can literally 10x the output that you were getting before. So Like seriously, once I started using these aspects in my formula, everything changed when it came to the outputs I was getting from AI. And just so you know, whether you use ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, DeepSeek, it doesn't matter what AI you're using because all of the brain of AI works the same way everywhere. And there are different aspects of, for instance, ChatGPT is better at, colorful writing. Same with Claude versus like Perplexity is better for researching. So they're all kind of better at something else. But the point is that you can, if you know what they're all used for, like for instance, a scientific calculator versus a regular calculator, if you know what they're used for, you can then use them to the best of their abilities. So these are the three secrets we're going to go over. The magic formula, which we already went over a little bit, but we are going to go in a bit more depth of what you could actually be using it for, situations and circumstances. The second thing is the power of this formula because it is versatile, it is time saving, and it is results driven. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you today is because of how many hours I have personally been saved. I have enough time to make this presentation for you because of how many hours have been saved with me using this formula prompting AI. And lastly, I'm going to show you a live demonstration from real live circumstances of how you can use this to actually benefit your personal growth in content. If you're trying to write anything in content, there's so many avenues of content. And if you're not using AI to enhance how much you literally exponentially enhance how much you can the output you're producing, then you're actually leaving a lot of money on the table because AI is simply there to help you. It's not there to take your job, it's there to help you. And if you start thinking about it like that, start thinking about it like a calculator, not like the calculator is going to get up, grow legs and go to your job for you. But math got a heck of a lot easier once we all started using those calculators, I'll tell you what. So, as we went over before, who, what, template, format, and review, refine, and reiterate. So, this is the magic formula. Now, we've already been over what to put in all of these things, but let's just go over like a simple example. So, for instance, let's say you are trying to let's say you're trying to write a newsletter. So, who? You're going to say, pretend you are the number one copyright. Say, I actually really like what's his name? His name's Calloway. He does video though. So let's actually write a video script. So there is a YouTuber, his name's Calloway. If you've checked him out, cool. If not, and you want to know how to get more views on your videos, his YouTube channel is the way to go. So who? You are Calloway, that YouTuber, right? And you are writing a video script for what? A video on how to AI prompt better. We're going to use the template of hook, story, call to action because that is, very simple for this example. And in the format of I'm going to show you in the third secret how to do this. But what you can do is you can actually take instructions from a video, have AI write them out as an outline of instructions, and in the format say, write it like this. And it's actually going to be the instructions from one of those YouTube videos that you have seen before to help you get better results by telling AI exactly how to do what it's supposed to be doing. Of course, the review, refine, reiterate is going to be based on whatever the first thing it spits out is. But can you see how that formula, even as bad as it is, because that's just an example off the top of my head, even as bad as it is, can you see how that would be a better outcome than me just saying, hey, write a video script about AI prompting? It's like one of them is very specific and it is giving AI like, okay, this is what we're aiming for. This is what we want to have it look like on the output. And the other one is just, hey, do this thing. And it's not, you're going to get an answer both ways. However, you're going to get a much better answer the more specific you are about what you're looking for it to spit out. If you do 2 + 2 and you don't push equals, it's not going to give you 4, even though you technically typed in the buttons right. But if you type in 2 plus 3, it's not going to give you 4 either. So you have to be as specific as possible to get what you're actually after. So here are all the ways that this formula can be applied because when it comes to content and just marketing in general, there's so many ways that AI can be used to write. And the thing is, if you're not using this formula, then of course you're going to get robotic sounding answers. You're going to get bad marketing on the output. But if you're actually able to give it true instructions where you're telling it how to sound like you, then you're also going to be able to get writing and content that doesn't sound like a robot. And for the record, everybody, I should add this to the formula, but at the end of all your prompts, put remove all long dashes. This is a dead giveaway that AI wrote it. And they're always everywhere. It's like this weird thing that AI does, but remove all the long dashes. It's a dead giveaway. Stop doing it. So one thing it can be used for is content. It's going to, whether you're writing a video script, a newsletter, whether you're writing a podcast script, whether you're writing emails, whether you're writing web page copy, whether you're writing articles, blogs, social media posts, like it really doesn't matter how you're using AI. But the important thing is in the formula, when you are using it for this thing, like, so say you're writing a newsletter versus writing a blog, you have to make sure that your prompt for the newsletter is different from your prompt for the blog because the output you want is different, right? Even though they could be on the same topic. For instance, your newsletter format may be different than your blog format. And so by specifying that in the prompt, you can do a few tweaks and take the same content and create a lot of different outputs simply by being specific on the format that you're expecting on the way out. So, and then by making sure that you tell it how to sound like you, because for instance, in that example, so the template area, if you give AI a sample of your writing and say, make it sound like this, use this tone and approach to writing it, it's going to emulate what you give it. So all you really have to do is give it an example of your writing and say, emulate this tone and approach. And it's going to do obviously the best it can to emulate how you write. Of course, the more writing you can give it, the more it can sound like you. So content, whether it be writing scripts, blogs, newsletters, books, I mean, you name it, it works. So, but the trick is using the formula so that what you get on the output, how to make it sound like you, is tell it how to sound like you. So communication, this is more, emails and writing like web page copy and things of that sort, where you're kind of writing more like it's communication. And also, I will add, if you need to do internal communication with your team or with your company, you can be using AI not only for customer communication, but for internal communication as well. And so when it comes to the communication, if you're writing an email or if you're writing, like memos or things like that, then again, aligning things with your voice, all you really have to do is tell it how to sound like you by using this formula. But most importantly, especially if you're writing like an internal memo, you would want AI to know it's writing an internal memo. And you would also say, hey, maybe this internal memo is a bit more like, I don't want to say everybody's in trouble, but you could say, write my internal memo on a more serious note, or make sure my internal memo is fun and friendly and, wishing everybody a happy, long weekend. So by telling it what the purpose of the internal memo, the communication with the client, what the purpose is, and how you want it to read for the person on the other side, it's going to just create a better output. And last being coordination. We're going to dive into this more on day 2, which is going to be next Thursday. So mark your calendars. And I don't plan on having the power be out that long. So next week will be live. This week we had to do, a quick, plan B option, but next week we will be live. And so next Thursday at 11, mark your calendars. But Coordination. Next week, we're going to dive into automation and workflows and how to integrate AI into your workflows. Because even what we're talking about right now, writing content to produce marketing, that is a workflow, right? And if you had to sit down, write a blog, edit a blog, insert images, format it on the page, if you had to do all of that, all those steps, that is a workflow, right? So if I was able to say, cut your writing and editing time, not even in half, by like a fourth, then that improves your workflow and process to get that work done, 4x. So the point is that coordination, either when it comes to interdepartment or, from workflow to workflow, AI can be integrated in a lot of different places to make the work go faster, easier, better. So, but by using this formula, you're going to ensure that better part for sure. So, let's dive into secret 3, which is taking action. And I'm actually going to show you an example of this formula in action. So let's um we are in presentation mode, so this was okay. So all right, sharing a different screen now. So here is, I'm going to show you through Perplexity and I'm going to show you through Notebook LM. So these are 2 AI tools. There are so many AI tools on the market. It would be more than a day's worth of workshops just to go over all the different tools and what all the different tools do. So these are a couple of my favorites though. So Notebook LM is kind of like how it sounds. It's a notebook, but if you give it information. It's not like ChatGPT where you say, hey, write me a book, and then it writes a book. Notebook LM is as smart as you make it. So if you give it information, then you increase the knowledge of that workbook. Now, I will say this has a lot of uses for both internal and external. So say you give it examples of your previous work, then it can sum up how you write and it could make a portfolio for you for how you, the tone and context and how you write. If you wanted to say, build an internal database of all of your internal documentation, you could create a notebook about all of your internal processes where somebody could come in here and the same way you communicate with ChatGPT, where you say, hey, tell me how to blah, then it's going to spit out from reading all of the documentation you've given it, do this. And it would cite the source too. So it would show you exactly where to look for those instructions. So it's going to save you time no matter how you're using this tool. I highly recommend you check out Notebook LM, free from Google. And then I'm going to use Perplexity to show you an example of, one version versus another. So, the only other thing I need to do is we need to grab a YouTube video. Sorry. Okay. Sorry if you could see that or hear that. So I am giving this a YouTube video from one of my favorite YouTubers. His name's Ed Lawrence. He's really great when it comes to um, just YouTube in general for how to get more viewers and things of that sort. If you are using YouTube or writing video scripts in general, his advice is really helpful. But what we're going to do is so what I'm trying to get out of AI, the Notebook LM version, is for the exact. Here's there a way for me to. Oh, that's actually. Let's see. Aha. Trying to figure out if we can just copy paste instead of have to type it out. Awesome. Okay, so for this source, please write out step. So this video is giving instructions on how to build the perfect sales page for the 4 different types of buyers. So what I'm asking for from Notebook LM is to take this video that has instructions in it and write out a step-by-step instruction guide based on the advice from the video so that I can then turn around and give it to an AI device to help me implement this format and structure. So it's thinking. So while it's thinking, we're going to head over to Perplexity. And just for, sheesh and giggles, I'm going to say, just to start off with, we're going to say, oops. So, some of you guys are coming in and typing that and thinking that that is going to do it for you in terms of having it spit out the perfect sales page copy. Now, let's be real. It's looking at, a ton of different sources to, are you frustrated by unpredictable AI results? It's not terrible, right? It is absolutely not terrible, but it could be better. And one thing I will say is, okay, so now we're going to build off of this prompt and I'm going to show you how we're going to one up it. So, we're going to keep the same instructions and we're going to say, um, so I love Russell Brunson. He's a great marketer. So we're writing this as if you're the best copywriter for Russell Brunson. Um, and we need a sales page that follows these instructions. Remember, we came over. So remember, we got this guy's instructions for how to write the best sales page. So all we have to do come down here is copy. By the way, with Notebook LM, if you don't save it as a note, then it won't be saved. So it's a 10-second tom in here. So if it goes away, it's gone forever. Okay, so following these instructions. So now it knows how to write it, the tone in which, like the approach you're trying to take, and it knows the format of what you're expecting on the output. And now we need to add in, please use friendly, oops. And I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall here, but already from the first prompt to the second prompt, you can see that we are going to get a much more precise output. Now, is this going to be what we really want? I don't know. We're going to find out. But as you can even see, it's already searching way more. Oh, wow. Want better AI results fast? Discover the secret that separates frustrated users from AI superstars. Already, as you can see, this is way, way, way better than what we had originally. So let's go back over to all right. So now that you've seen this in action, of course, you can rewind this video and rewatch that and see how I did all of that. All of those tools that I just showed you are completely free, but how you can use Notebook LM to get a format from, and you could give Notebook LM a book, you could give it a YouTube video, you could give it a blog, you could give it all kinds of things and sit and create a format or a template from what sources you give it. So the sky is the limit over there. So I just showed you one way that you could use Notebook LM to cut down the time you're even spending writing these prompts. So use that. Now, here is, I'm not just trying to tell you and not show you. So here is, an example of a client that I've worked with in the past where when we updated one of their processes, they went from, this is one of the senior resources from that team. There were 5 people on that team, and some people went from spending 8 hours on this process to 1 hour. This senior resource went from spending 4.5 hours down to 1 hour. And this was from launching a new optimized workflow and process. So when you actually use these steps correctly and you actually take each step of the process that you're trying to, accomplish, and you really figure out how to make each step as the least with the least amount of strain as possible, not that sentence though, with the least amount of lift as possible, you're not only going to get your time back, but you're actually going to get money back, because time is money. If you pay yourself, if you charge $100 an hour, then if I can save you 10 hours a week, I'm saving you $1,000, not to mention how much money you could make with those 10 hours that are being returned. So this isn't just me preaching to a camera into a microphone. This is actually work that I've been doing for the last 8 years to help people actually make those workflows work for them and not against them. And one thing that was really funny about this workflow in particular is that everybody absolutely hated that workflow. They hated it. And once we launched the new workflow, everyone actually was they were like, they didn't trust it because it was so easy. They were like, there's no way it could be that easy. And so the first thing is believing in your mind that how you do your work should not be harder than the work that you're actually doing. Now, this is part of earning the bonus. So if you attend all 3 days, and so if you attend all 3 days of this workshop, then you're going to get a free 1 hour consultation with me where I'm actually going to look at your business operations and point out some of the places where you can integrate AI into your workflow right now. I am on a mission to save every single business 10 hours a week, whether that be from meetings, whether that be from content creation, whether that be from anything. I have built entire businesses on the back end. And I've always called myself the wizard behind the curtain, but I am coming out from behind the curtain and talking to you guys one-on-one now. And so one thing is, if you, all 3 of these days, I'm going to give you a worksheet, and it's going to be linked down below wherever you find this video, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube. It's going to be linked down below. So if you fill out that form and all 3 days you fill out the form, then you will earn a spot you'll earn a reserved spot. Now, because I don't have endless time, I'm only going to give it to the first 20 people who complete all 3 of those days. So if you're one of those lucky 20 people, then I will reach out to you and we'll get this hour scheduled so that I can look at what you're doing and show you immediate low-hanging fruit ways to get you time back in your day. Because if your business does better, then you're actually going to have more time to dream a little bit bigger. So let's talk about what dreaming big looks like. But first, we have to make your day-to-day to-do list easier. So that is the end of today. We went through a lot. However, if you actually implement even half of what I told you in today, then content creation just got a heck of a lot easier for you. And one thing about AI is everybody should be using this technology to be more human. Whether I give you back 10 hours in your work week to get more work done, or whether I give you back 10 hours in your work week to, have more time with your family, regardless of how you use that time. It is always going to be used for you to be able to be more human and let the technology do the technology things. AI is technology. It's not a person. It can't get up and go to work for you. But if you have things on your to-do list you absolutely hate doing, there's a very real chance that technology could do them for you so that you are actually able to do more of what you really like to do. So I hope this has been helpful. I am the business cowgirl, and I am looking forward to hearing how everybody uses this magic formula in their content creation. So have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you next week live. Sorry, this week got a little wonky, but I'll see you next week live.